Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. This is World News with me and William. I'm Ellie Holder, and we got William on the phone. William, how you doing tonight? Are we ready to go?
Hey.
We got some great
Eddie
news.
Haskell showed up.
Yeah. Lots of great news and discussions tonight. Drones. Now 20 foot long, and I've many people I've talked to, even my granddaughter. And I mentioned 20-foot drone, and they said, no, that's an aircraft, and it's what it's been doing is looking over Langley Air Force Base for the last 17 days. So we'll get into that later. Me and William got a lot to say on this. So I want to start off with CBS. Yes, CBS breaks its silence over editing allegations. They said they cut out quite a bit of the Harris show they had, and said that they had to edit quite a bit. And they said they would have, even if they had Trump on there, they would have edited him also. They're not saying what they would have edited. But yeah, we know these debates and these with them on, it's only to make her look better. Folks, look into history of Kamala Harris. That's all I have to say.
It used to be that when we had something major like that, they went live and they just let what happened happen.
Yeah, and then not only that, but this week, Congress and Senate has now unearthed a report that reveals powerful Harris ally willing to share resources from Black business with the CCP. Now, this is very serious because this was back in 2017. Oh, boy. See, what it was is this Ron Busby visited with Harris at the White House dozens of times. But the thing is he, the two of them met with several CCP officials during previous unreported trip to China also. So not only did one of her people she does business with, this Ron Busby, met with CCP at the White House, but they also met with them over in China. And these aren't good. They also, it was a part, they listed it as a New York government officials and business leaders, including Cuomo, were basically a new majority alliance that they were able to go over and visit with the CCP members. So the delegation's trip was in September of 2017. Um, but it was all set up by the Consulate General of the People's Republic of China. Um, the Chinese government entity also, they have CCP members in New York that serves as a mouthpiece for the CCP and was recently implicated in unsealed indictment against top former aides to New York Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul. So we see a lot of them were all caught up. New York with Camilla Harris, with this Ron Busby, all getting together, calling it a delegation and a delegation trip to China, but also this delegation of these people meeting with the CCP dozens of times at the White House. Now, remember, folks, 2017. If they were meeting at the White House, she wasn't even vice president at that time. Now, William, you're saying something about that being
Well, it's at very least she's doing influence for the Chinese government and should have registered, right?
yeah. And see, these are unreported. See, that's why Congress and Senate found it so important to unearth this. And Ron Busby is considered a whistleblower or coming forward and telling everybody what's going on. And we're getting more and more of this where we find not only the Harris and her people and her people she does business with, but we're seeing the same thing with the Biden administration during the Obama administration. But when you hear 2017, she was just a senator at that point. So we had senators meeting at the White House. Now, this was a Trump rule, though, right, William?
Pardon?
2017 was
Trump
Trump.
went in at 16.
So now, so my question was, whoa, wait a minute. Did Trump know? No, no, he did not. They have offices at the White House.
Did Schumer set it up, and did they just all go, or we don't really know all that information, do we yet?
Yeah. Well, see, the whole thing is what I found out, and I had to get a hold of the ladies that I know that are do things around Senate and Congress buildings. And what they told me was there are special rooms set aside for senators and congressmen to meet with important delegates, presidents, world leaders, and other important people, to where they can use these rooms at the White House because it's secure, so secure. So,
remember, we were at the same time negotiating NAFTA and everything else right then, so there was enough push and pull in the Pacific that it's not surprising terribly.
now, I do want to get into this because me and William probably going to be going on for a long time on this. The drones. The new reporting that has come out today, that they say over a dozen unidentified drones that were allowed to fly over Langley Air Force Base has prompted fresh calls for the change to the threat that experts say will only become more prevalent. They said this isn't the first time. They said this is the third time that they've had either balloons or drones that are from either China or North Korea. At this time, it's unidentified. For more than 2 weeks, the mysterious drones basically went into restricted airspace. And not only home to the key national security facilities for the F-22 Raptor stealth fighters, but the whole thing is the lack of protocol in such incursions that they are now starting to ask why. What is this? or were they ours? These are 20-foot long drones that has been hovering near classified facilities for the last over a year, William. It's not just for the last 17 days. The problem
Well,
is it's been doing it
the
for the
whole
last
area
year.
around the White House and that area is restricted airspace out like 50 miles, 35 miles. I don't understand how anybody can fly around in restricted airspace without being able to squawk ident codes. So
Now, the Pentagon has said little about the incidents. They do confirm that they occur after the first of this month. Whether it knows where the drones came from, nor what they're doing, they say is unclear. They said I think pretty much congressional sources said I think they don't even know.
I know what it is. They're sucking up intelligence information about the Air Force. That's Hasn't anybody noticed that part? It's over in an Air Force base.
And not only that, but they should be able to easily find out who they are because there's all kinds of radar systems, but each drone has a fingerprint, pretty much. So they know.
Shoot it down, you can find out where the parts came from.
I hope this is making my viewers upset. It's got me very upset. We got drones. And remember the balloons that went over all the bases and they just watched it. And the thing about it, the report that came out just a few months ago said that before they shot the drone down, it downloaded everything to China that it had. So we didn't get it in time as they watched it fly over the United States for weeks. If these drones were foreign adversary testing the limits of U.S. defenses, they took home a lot of info. Now, it's easy for them, William, because this is in Virginia. Um, and it's pretty close to the ocean. So, I mean, it's so easy, just like when they had the balloons going over the East Coast. It's so easy to get what you need off the East Coast if you're flying over the ocean, even if they're in international waters. They can still do it.
To see things right next to the water.
And then North Korea did it, and they did Mexico and the southern part of the United States here after China did a balloon.
Call it map of the Earth. Radar isn't very good at looking down if the radar is based on the Earth. If you have airborne radar, it's good at looking from above down. So, yeah, maybe they should have a radar bird up with look down radar, keeping track of what's going on there.
Yeah. And, there should be the Department of Defense. And when the Department of Defense was, the head of Department of Defense was questioned, he said he was leaving it in the hands of the Pentagon. Now, and this is Lloyd Austin. And you look at what he's been doing, he's more into the transgender and the military more than he is looking into drones. Dozens of them, 20-foot long drones. I mean, think how big that is, and 20 of them. Or, dozens, they say. So dozens, I'm going to go with 20, William. It could be 24, it could be 30.
Think about the size of one of those 20-foot trailers you drag behind, that the family of 6 can sleep in.
Yeah.
That's how long.
Yeah. And then what I did is I called Mary and I said, Mary, what's going on over Wright-Patterson? And she said they are doing exercises, and weirdly, but I think they schedule these and they're not going to let the public know. But what that tells you is in the last 2 weeks, she said they've been doing heavy exercising. Why didn't they shoot it down? Why didn't they shoot them down, all of them? So we could find out who's doing it and what they were wanting and looking at to collect.
At the very least, follow it home.
Yeah. I mean, eventually we're going to have a terrorist attack here at some point with a bunch of drones. And you know what gets me is the Rogers. He's the chair of the House Armed Service Committee. He said the Defense Department needs to use the authority it's been given because this. When is the next 20, 30 drones going to show up in a city and do a terrorist attack? And then also he said, William, this is what got me. Drone incursions at the Department of Defense facilities that they've received reports on is alarming.
Oh, really?
They don't say how it just said that.
How did they jump to that conclusion? Oh my God.
So
You
that's
know,
telling you that there's a lot
very,
more that we don't even know about, or the news don't even know about.
yeah, I'd say.
I mean, folks, think about this. What if 20 drones showed up in the middle of your city and hovered over it? Would you be scared? You know, every time I get stupid Amber alerts on my phone, and every time I hear that siren, I'm like, okay, this might be it. And it's always an Amber alert. I'm like, shoo. um, Now get this. Now I don't understand this. This William is Senator Moron. Moron. He's out of Kansas. He's going to promise to introduce legislation to give the Pentagon greater authority to shoot down drones. I thought they could. What says they can't?
The U.S. Air Force has the authority to shoot down any air vehicle in U.S. airspace inside the 12-mile limit. Period. That's
Now,
their purpose.
now they do have a picture of what it kind of sort of looks like, William. They said it's familiar. It's close to what our XQ-67A drone looks like, is what they've seen. But it's a little bit different, and there's different markings. Um, I'm going to blow this up so you guys can see a little better.
Might be a state-sponsored drone now.
There. So it looks kind of like that, folks. That's a drone. That's one of ours, though.
That doesn't look too hobby-like to me.
It doesn't look too what?
Too hobby-like to me. I mean, it doesn't look like what the kids down at the local grade school are buying and flying around the soccer field. You know what I'm saying? It looks like it could be a little expensive, especially seeing that it doesn't have, propellers. It's actually got a jet engine.
Now, and we do have restrictions around a lot of facilities.
Everything near DC is restricted.
And for some reason, the Homeland Security and Department of Defense is letting these drones watch. And they said, the question is why? And they don't answer why. They just said they're observing them. And isn't that what they said with the balloon, folks? Isn't that what they said? We're just observing. And then they finally decide to shoot the balloon out of the sky.
Everything from this administration is never about what happens, but what they're doing. So instead of we accomplish something, oh no, it's we're working on it, right? So instead of shooting down the drone, it's we're observing the drone.
Right. And they said, we can't even jam the GPS system all the way so that drones freeze up and fall out of the sky. That's why we have to shoot them down, because it doesn't quite decapitate them. It doesn't
disengage them.
Disengage them. Thank you. And so that's why they need to be shot down. But why is this administration letting this happen. And when questioned, does the Biden administration know, even the Biden and Harris, know of these drones that's happening? And it goes all the way to the top. It goes all the way to the top with Lloyd and um, the decision makers for um, this administration. So they do know. And let's just observe them. Now, I hope whoever the next administration is going to stop this. There's so much that we're finding out that's leaking. And I really do think this um Congress and Senate, the ones that are looking, keeping an eye on this, that they're the ones pulling this information out, especially, and then they go to the Pentagon and say, "Why is this happening?" They just don't know. They just don't know.
They're asking the wrong question. Who's in charge?
Okay.
So you can fire the person.
Well, see, they say it goes to.
No, just ask who's in charge of watching this thing. I want to know. So
the Department of Defense, and the head of the Department of Defense is Lloyd Austin.
So you can lose your retirement. They have to make it so that.
Because it's not the head of the Pentagon, because the head of the Pentagon has to listen to basically who the head of the Department of Defense is. And that's Lloyd Austin. Or even Sullivan could be a big part of this.
Whoever decided it was a great idea to just watch the thing instead of it out of the air, they should be hauled into Congress.
And I think Russia, I think, had drones before even China did. And, this has been going on for decades because China has been saying, hey, we've been sending balloons over for years. Why didn't you do anything before? No one paid attention. No one caught it. No one caught the balloon to be able to say, hey, what's that? And now everybody keeps an eye on the sky and turns that stuff in. But how many people thought, oh, it's just a balloon? Weather balloon, kids balloon, for what we release.
In truth, we have everybody's jetliners flying around the United States. They already know, but it'd be interesting to know who's playing games.
See, also the State Department, too. They were capable of saying something. But their intelligence part, they said they were, they didn't believe they were collecting anything particular on maybe just operations going on or our bases.
How would they know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know what it is or who it is, how do you know? There's only one way to find out is put hands on it or follow it home.
Now there's several Republicans that are really looking into this. Green is now she's well spoken and out there and spoken on this, and if it wasn't for her starting to bring this all out, according to congressional hearings they've been having on it. See, I didn't even know they had congressional hearings on it, on the balloon from China. And when they did, they expressed that this is when it was disclosed that they had already downloaded info. Now, when we got a hold of it, William, and we started looking at it, according to the State Department, because this is where the State Department gets drug in, is there was nothing that would cause any security for our country that they could find on it. But according to China, so William, here we go. Did China lie and say they got a lot of info from our bases? I mean, just the layout of our bases is bad enough.
So if you didn't have memory on the balloon, all right, and you flew the bases and instantly transmitted them, there would be no important information on the balloon because it was already in China. I'm just not buying the whole argument.
Well, yeah. Now, is that balloon at first? It went over Alaska. Well, I think it went over Hawaii, then Alaska, and then it was.
If it didn't have memory, I want to know if it has a transmitter. If it has a transmitter, question answered.
Yeah, and what came out from Lieutenant Douglas Sims is it was of hostile intent.
You think?
But there was nothing there, according to what the Pentagon and Department of Defense and others are saying. There was nothing there on that balloon. But we have a Lieutenant General Sims saying, "Wait a minute," and he's the director of operations and chief of staff. He's saying hostile intent. So, like you said, were they able to transmit? I mean, could they jam things up? We even got.
It wasn't of hostile intent.
I get this, William. The thing is just in the last few weeks, we hear Russia has got a missile that can shoot satellites. What's going to be the first thing they do? Communications. I mean, Russia don't have to fly balloons over now because they got the intel from China. So does North Korea and Iran. They know where all our bases are, what they look like. That's all. National security. This ought to put some major players in prison for treason. Lloyd Austin, for one.
My concern is that you've got an aircraft flying around in restricted airspace. Period. Right? That should be enough, even if it wasn't close to that base.
Hmm. So, all right. I want to move on. But folks, start looking into this. Start reading stuff on this. Because the next time you see a balloon or a drone in the air, we now have to be careful. Because if it's a hostile intent, we don't know if it's just going to seek information or if they're going to start a war with drones or to start a civil war. So,
I'm pretty sure there's no law against you popping outside in the backyard with a shotgun if you can reach it.
I don't know. I just seen a video the other day, William, of this guy that had a drone that was delivering something to his neighbor's house, but it was hovering over his house.
He popped it?
Yeah, he shot it, and he got arrested for it. For discharging a gun in housing.
City limits.
And he could have hurt somebody. He could have hurt a kid down the street. And I mean, the whole thing is, why was the drone watching his house if it had a delivery for one of his neighbors? And it hovered over, he said, for about 15, 20 minutes before he went inside, came back out with it still hovering over his house, and then took a shot at it. You guys look it up on YouTube. It's an amazing video. But it's a guy that shot down a drone, and he did get in trouble for it. Dang. All right. China is now, threatening the United States again. Yeah. Don't intervene. If we're going to shut off Taiwan waters all the way around it and the islands, then don't intervene if what we're in our exercises, and don't intervene if we happen to take strikes on Taiwan. So again, they say they're getting ready, And I think didn't Jinping give 2030, William, as a date for
2027.
2027?
Yeah, he's very optimistic, I have to say.
Oh, um, um, so yeah, it's just another empty threat. I got to tell you about, I like to call senators and congressmen every so often. Well, in 2016 um, was big climate stuff, big climate. And Bernie Sanders said, we're all going to die. We're all going to go in 6 to 8 years. The world will crumble and we'll see no more. Well, that's right now, folks.
I saw the world fall in half, didn't you? Bernie did.
I mean, we've got hurricanes that's doing it, but he was like, the world is going to end.
Maybe Bernie's been in office
so
too long.
what I did was I called his office and reminded them of that and said, why isn't he saying 6, 8 years anymore? And the person on the phone got real quiet. And I said, you can't answer that because it's such a farce. Well, no. Climate change is a big thing. And I said, to quit spraying chemicals on us. Quit doing chemtrails. Because now the government, under the Harris and Biden administration, they have now said there are chemtrails and they are spraying us with different things to control the weather so the earth doesn't fall apart.
CIA director says it's true, it's true, it's true.
Yeah. Hello, Miss Linda. Now, they did identify one of the Navy aviators that crashed in Washington State in the park. Is a routine training flight. And now they're going to basically say that these two gentlemen are dead. It's been long enough and they haven't found anything that they're going to declare them as dead. I just wanted to jump in there and say that really quick. Um, there is a video out that shows North Korean soldiers in Russia. I gotta.
Tonight, there's potential new evidence.
Okay, it's not that long. All right, let me get this going for you guys.
That North Korea is sending soldiers to Russia to possibly fight against Ukraine. ABC's Inez de la Catera is following those developments. Inez, what more are you learning?
Yeah, Rachel, we've geolocated a new video circulating online appearing to show North Korean soldiers in Russia's Far East. It's still unclear when the video was shot, but this comes after South Korea's National Intelligence Service reported that in recent weeks, approximately 1,500 North Korean soldiers were transported to Russia, releasing satellite images they say show those North Korean.
Okay, that I wanted to stop that really quick to show you that this is a picture they got. And this is new evidence showing that they are training with Russian forces.
Troops at Russian military bases, and they're estimating in all up to 12,000 soldiers will be sent, though Russia denies this. Tonight, Ukrainian President Zelensky.
Okay, so William, check that out. I mean, it showed a video now. We know that they are marching on the ground with Russia.
Well, North Korea has a large permanent army. Their main business is military in North Korea, so it's not a surprise they end up being there, whereas both Russia and North Korea are allies.
Yeah, and also North Korea now they're I don't know, I think it's more his sister is boasting, like, you know what, now we're somebody because they condemn this big time. And they say that the US and Australia, Canada, and South Korea, France, Germany, Japan, Italy, the Netherlands, and New Zealand together unveiled a new plan to monitor North Korea's nuclear weapons development now. Why didn't we all watch this for the last few years? I mean, they've been, William, the whole thing is they've been coming out showing it and proud of what they're
Oh,
building.
they've been doing that for a few years anyway. They call that system South Korea, Hawaii, or South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. Those are words, just words.
In North Korea, they published some information of rigorous investigations, and they're being accused with violations to circumvent them. But now that Russia's using them, China, Iran, North Korea is happy, very happy, because now they're part.
They're popular for once.
Yeah.
They're popular.
Yeah, they sure are.
They've got all the attention now, so yeah. Popularity has its perks, I guess.
And Japan, UK, and Italy to expedite next generation of fighter jets to replace the F-2s and Eurofighters. With the joint development, the next generation fighter jet is now announced. A trilateral government organization has been established by the end of this year to work with parties producing the aircraft. Sounds like Japan will be producing these aircraft. The three countries agreed in 2022 to jointly produce new combat aircraft that will be ready for deployment in 2035. Now, these are plants that we're losing under the Fair Trade Act.
Keep in mind, many of these in Japan, their F-16s were produced there by license, and I think some of the 15s they have were also produced there by license. They just want to have their own indigenous fighter jet. South Korea just developed their own new, I guess you'd call it medium lightweight fighter jet.
Mm-hmm.
And they're exporting those to like India and Indonesia.
Yeah, and then also you mentioned these new tanks, M12 or M10 or 12 Bookers.
Yeah, M10. So the Army has decided to use their main battle tanks as main battle tanks, and instead of using up armored Humvees to use in restricted battle spaces, we'll just call that, and places where we can't get our heavy main battle tanks in, they're creating a lighter tank that we really haven't had one of since our Korean tanks that we used in Vietnam. Yeah, they're creating this M10 Booker specifically to act in the infantry, at the infantry level, to give the infantry more close-in support. So it sounds like a great idea. It's going to be, let's see, it's being produced by General Dynamics, I guess, Land Vehicle Division, and they produced the Abrams. So it sounds like a good fit. I don't know. What do you think, Ellie?
When Trump was in office, he had to replace so much that we have such old military equipment that goes back to World War I, World War II, that we have never replaced. And now that we see what China and Russia has, even Iran, is updated war machines. And I think this was a good idea. It was a good idea.
Yeah.
Because they have been putting so much into.
Many more of them. They're cheaper.
Yeah. Well, and they put so much into the Navy and the Air Force for the ships and the planes. You don't hardly hear about the Army actually getting itself built up.
The Air Force can deploy them twice as fast for the Army.
Well,
It's since we've watched what's happened in Ukraine, a lot of planners have gone back and said, you know what we've been doing in the past is not going to work in these contested areas, say in Europe or in jungles of Asia. So we better catch up and use what we've learned in the past, integrate it with what we now know, and come up with a plan that's viable and produce the equipment necessary. So it's a good idea, probably.
You had something on Ukraine.
Yeah, so Ukraine apparently has produced its first intercontinental ballistic missile. Or I'm sorry, not intercontinental, but a ballistic missile that can get out, I guess, 500 kilometers. And they haven't tested it in any third country, so I guess the people who have been looking at it think that they've been testing it in active war zone. So yeah, it's just come out that they now have their own guided ballistic missile.
Yeah. Well, that's the same way with I mentioned with Russia. Russia has it can fire and take down satellites now. More and more. That's why with what we were talking about with having to upgrade, we have to. And Trump did it. I mean, he had no choice because we were so far behind.
Anytime you have the world in major tension, the world just basically becomes an arms race. And arms races are economic contest. It's basically an economic contest. So, yeah.
Now, we see Israel launching airstrikes on Hezbollah financial operations in Beirut. They're trying to destroy the banking systems that the terrorists belonged to. This is not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a retaliation against Iran for the October 7th thing. I think this is just a smart move to cut off their funding for them to buy more military equipment.
Yeah, if you're blind at 3 a.m. and you're using the Braille ATM, maybe you don't want to. It's at those institutions. It's a sad joke, Ellie. It's a sad joke.
Yeah, and then Israel had a big caravan that was taking in food, water, baby goods, and the Palestinians attacked them. They said something's happened just over the last few days to where the Palestinians that were seeking shelter and hiding is now coming out and starting to fight with Hezbollah. Yeah. So this was last weekend, and I'm pretty sure that's when we caught those pictures of North Korea helping Russia, kind of thing. I don't know. But Israel, so we're finding out that the Palestinians that are starting to fight now. But I don't want to say they're starting to fight, William, because there are some that just can't get out. And I don't know how many times I've seen this boohoo on the news that Israel has killed women and babies. Well, so did Hezbollah and Hamas. They do the same thing. Now, if you put a missile in somebody's house that's full of babies and kids and pregnant mothers, and you shoot it, of course, there's a missile coming back to hit them. And the whole thing is they're not even running, William.
they see us as weak because we're reticent to fire missiles at them. And yet, at the same time, they go out into the world press and say that we're baby killers. So which is it?
Yeah. And they asked Camilla Harris of her stance on Israel, and she wants to end it. There's nothing ever mentioned about Ukraine. Why can't we end Ukraine? But she's been anti-Israel, and she was standing with Tlaib and the squad on Trump has got babies in cages. Well,
they can stop that war if they bring the hostages back.
Yeah.
Why hasn't America brought the hostages back?
There's how many? There's what, over 100?
There's 100, yeah.
Yeah. That would be, and they're moving them. They have to keep moving them from tunnel to tunnel, place to place, base to base, hospital underground bases to hospital underground bases to private homes. So,
yeah.
Um,
So Hamas is not likely to stop fighting, guys. And as long as Hezbollah keeps firing missiles and Hezbollah holds hostages, Israel will strike back. So this isn't going anywhere soon until the aggressors stand down. And the aggressor wasn't Israel in this case.
Yep. And it really amazes me, though, William, that we have got all of these, the Pentagon, Department of Defense, probably the State Department, and others in generals, that could easily just stop the war in Ukraine just by having Ukraine quit. But, I mean, Ukraine's asking for more stuff.
Look,
then you got Israel and you got Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah. I think that goes way back to the differences between the two Muslim groups. It's never going to end.
Every time you hear baby killers, it reminds me of Vietnam and our troops there. So we went to help protect the South from attack from North Vietnam's Communist Party. And they called us baby killers for that, where at the same time China was killing 100 million of its own citizens. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. In the rally in Arizona, and the Blaze is looking into this, and they brought some new info to light, and it's about 10 people from Tucson during a Trump rally that was sprayed with some form of chemical. Roughly 20 attendees reported mysterious symptoms such as blurred vision, face swelling, problems breathing, and rashes. And according to the place that was held, they have no rhyme or reason for these people becoming sick. And they all went to, huh?
I'm sorry, I was just covering my mouthpiece because the neighborhood kids and the dogs are out having a little too much fun near my window.
Oh, that's all right. So they had a horrible effect after like 30 minutes after the Trump rally, and 10 of them out of the 20, 10 went to the emergency room for it. And according to all the emergency room doctors, it wasn't they all went to one emergency room; they went to different ones. Said that it was a chemical burn. So what was sprayed on the Trump rally goers? And right behind him. Now, they said Trump didn't really have any issues. It was just the people that sat behind him. So was there like a smoke bomb or a type of vapor bomb of chemicals that burned him? We don't know.
Well, it's either an acid or it's something that's really bad whatever it is it's a distance away from the natural pH of the human body. So it sounds like chemical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure does. And William, the thing is if we're looking at this administration and this government, do we really trust them with everything going on all over the world? And I'm even asking Democrats this: do you really trust them?
I trust them to view things.
And see, if the hardcore Democrats won't, you got to see, are they crazy? If Trump administration got in, are they going to trust them? No. And they're going to be very loud spoken over this.
We can trust the Democrats to be involved in processes. We just can't trust them to have outcomes. So as long as you're okay with processes, it'll work out great for you. If you want outcomes that are beneficial, well, if you're busy in processes, you never really get to outcomes. So,
well, it's all to leave to like one government system, one world government, or whatever you want to call this.
Well, what I saw lately in the news is they're moving on from ESD now to scoring all of us. Not that they haven't been scoring us already, but now they're saying that they're going to score us, so it's open. It's now in the open. So we're taking the next step. So is that the reason why our people in government are doing what they're supposed to? Are they trying to get a better Google score? I
don't know.
Is there allegiance to Google, or is it to United States? Sorry, I kind of blindsided Ellie with that.
Yeah, you did. My whole thing is, I mean, if you talk to a Democrat, and there's no convincing them to, if they don't want, they just hate Trump. But the whole thing, William, is, and I've been saying this for a long time, is this is our America. And Democrats and Republicans were all saying that it needs to be fixed. There's something wrong with the system.
It's not just our America, it's all of our America. It's we the people, these United States. It's all of us. We have to look out for each other. We can't just decide we want what we want and throw half of the country out with the bathwater. What is best for all of us?
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. We need to fight for America itself. We need to fight and say that the crime is not acceptable. The economy is not acceptable, no matter who's in there. And we need to remind, if Trump gets in, William, if Trump gets in, America needs to remind him of the horrors that we've just went through with our economy. And it's got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed, even if it's a little relief.
The United States can't help other countries if it can't help itself.
That's it.
So we have to start at home so that we can, and no other country in the world has been more generous than the United States. So let us help ourselves so we can be generous once again. That's what we want. We don't want to be stingy in everything. We don't want to stop immigration. We just want to have viable immigration.
Yeah. Yes. And that's, I think it's going to come down to, now Trump went and did the McDonald's thing, and he went to the barbershop, and the media is just having big meltdowns over it. So what? He did that. I think everybody would have liked it if Kamala Harris would have done it, or anybody, or Biden. Biden buying himself ice creams and showing him paying for it. That was just a lost cause. But Trump, the way he went about this, is it so enraged the Democrat Party that they were beside themselves on it. You know, it's like,
Well,
why didn't we think
how
of this
many
first?
workers in the United States get their lunch from McDonald's?
Yeah,
It was brilliant.
yeah. And to see him doing fries, you know, and they say, oh, he couldn't even do the fries. He didn't know what he was doing. Well, he's never. You put anybody in a McDonald's and tell them to make fries, they're not going to know what they're doing. I don't care who you are. You got to
It's
learn what the
chaos.
machine
Wow.
is, and you got to learn the system for that machine to be able to make the French fries right. You know, clean grease especially. Um, but they really dogged him about this, and I just think it's wrong. Uh, Maybe it's because Camilla didn't think of it first.
Well, maybe
but
he didn't do so good with the fries, but he was really nailing it at the window. So
yeah,
everybody's got their place.
yeah. So, William, do you have anything else you want to throw in?
Well, we're looking at what's going on in the world right now, especially towards this culmination of this election, and we can expect, you know, some more crazy things to happen. So we kind of have our nose to the ground and are trying to figure out what's happening, even though information is becoming much more difficult to come by. But we're finding it. So, yeah. Thanks for showing up and spending some time with us. And we hope to spend some time with you Wednesday. And
yes, Wednesday for the World War III report. And I thank William for being a part of the show. And please share the show and like, and if you know, hit that thumbs up. YouTube likes the thumbs up and the likes. But subscribe so you're notified when our shows are on, now that we're kind of doing weird hours on how well I feel. Because once I eat, folks, I'm not good. I'm not good. So, all right, William, I thank you very much. And we hope that everybody comes back Wednesday to watch the show. Thank you, William.
Okay, thanks to Linda and Eddie for giving us a shout out.
Yeah, Eddie. Yeah, he's back. We were hoping he'd find us, and he likes that trivia stuff. And again, thanks for all the viewers. 1,300 of them watched trivia on Saturday night. Thank you much. All right. With that, we will see you on Wednesday. Take care, and God bless. Oh, I thought we were going to end up going over, but I guess not. Okay.